Hello, we are set to do video number 2 for CAM HSM. You should have watched the CAM HSM setup prior to this, and this one is going to be CAM HSM milling operations. So that's what we're going to focus on. Couple things we need to take care of before we move on. Since the last video, I remembered that I did have stock around. Otherwise, when we machine this profile, we're not going to get to see it cut anything. So as I said before, we can go and edit anything. So my zero is in the right place, my stock, my side offset, I want 50 thousandths because my part is bigger. Then that brings stock all the way around, and we have the 30,000 stock on the top. So we're good. So okay, save that. Now that's good. Now if you remember the last time when I left off, I did the tool library. So if we go back in to CAM, you can see now I have added the remainder of the tools that were on my tool sheet here with my number of flutes, my RPMs, my feed rate, and I put all of these same labels in. So we are all set with tools. They have the right tool number. So the beauty of this is now when I pick an operation and then I choose a tool, I don't have to worry about, do I have the right offset? Do I have the right size? Do I have the right feed rate? Okay, so here we go. So we're going to first mill with the face mill the stuff off the top. So I'm going to pick face, and I'm going to pick tool, and we're going to come to our CAM library, and we're going to pick the 2.5 inch face mill and pick select. So now it plugged in all of those feed rates in. I do want the coolant on, so moving these tabs left to right, here we go. Next tab, stock selection. It picked by default. Here's this yellow. Looks to me like it's the top surface. Yeah, it says that there. So that looks correct. Next tab over. Now this is looks kind of overwhelming, but each one of these, let me go to the front view so you can see, sets a different height for your tool to rapid to. So this top one is my clearance height. The next one is my rapid height or retract height. So when I come out of a hole, it's going to, or I'm finishing operation, it's going to retract up to this point. And then my feed height, where is it going to start feeding? Okay, from. So let's go back over here. I always use model top. Okay, that's the top of my model. If you have stock on the sides, you have stock on the top, and you go with stock top, your numbers change because our program, if you recall, Z0 is the top of the part. So you'll have, whoopsie, wrong way. You will have weird numbers. So model top, clearance 1 inch. 1 inch. It will pay dividends when it comes to doing holes with multiple level steps if you go to the clearance plane. So I always make clearance 1 inch. Now if I have a step that's higher than 1 inch, I would make it higher, but for the most part 1 inch is a good number. Retract height, 100 thousandths, 0.1. 100 thousandths is close enough to the part but not too far away, because once it starts feeding, time is money. Okay, so 100. My feed height, I make the same as my rapid height, 0.1. Now, when it comes to this feed height and retract height, the only time I make it a different number, you know, if my surface is really wavy because I didn't face mill the top of it and it's not flat, it's unmachined, maybe it's a casting or something like that, I might need a little bit more clearance. But I always, when it comes to tapping, make it 0.2. 200 thousandths, so that there's a little bit more clearance room to be sure that everything gets synced up. And I think with the technology of equipment now, it's not as necessary, but sometimes old habits die hard. And since it was a valuable habit, I'm leaving it. So top height, that's the top of my part, is model top. The bottom height, so this is where that cutting is going to be. My cutting is going to be at the model top. So I'm going to accept this. Now I'm going to the next tab. Now we have some options here. Here's my tolerance. How accurate does it have to be? My pass direction. I can go on an angle, and if I hover and hold, you can see I can go on an angle. I just want to go straight, so leave it at 0. Pass extension. So I have a 2.5-inch cutter. It's going to go. Do I need to extend it out so I'm away from my part? Well, if the back of the cutter stops at the side of my model here, it isn't really off the part because I have some extra material or stock. So I'm going to add 100 thousandths. That should give me clear. Rid of that garbage. Stock offset. I'm not going to offset. Step over. That's how far between paths. If we look at this, that's a horizontal step over. That's how much space between passes. I don't need any, so we'll just leave it alone. I don't know why it chose that number. Sometimes it randomly does. It might remember from the last time I used this tool. I'm not sure. If I'm taking multiple passes, do I want to go both ways? Do I want to go climb? Do I want to go conventional? Those are some choices. Right now I'm going to accept the default. Multiple depths. Now these things you have to pick it to expand to get the stuff. So if I had a lot of stock and I wanted to make a couple of passes where I only take 50 thousandths, move down 50 thousandths, move down 50 thousandths, okay, this is where I would use this step down, okay. If it's checked, it's going to go by these numbers. If it's unchecked, it is not going to do multiple depths. Stock to leave. If I want to leave stock, I can leave stock. I do not want to leave stock. I want to cut it right to size. Next tab over. This is some more options. Sometimes we use them, sometimes we don't. Allow rapid retract? Yes. Keep the tool down? Most of the time, yes. Otherwise, it comes up, it moves over, it goes down, and makes a lot of extra stuff. Lead-ins and transitions. That means before and after the actual tool path needed to make the cut, it will add extra distance. And in this case, a radius. So I'm going to show you this, and then I'll take it out because it's not needed. But see here, the picture, it leads in and out. So lead out or exit, same as lead in. And they're saying that radius is 1/4. And we want a smooth transition. So let's see what we get. All right, here we go. Say OK. So there's my path that it did. So it's feeding down, it's doing the radius, and then this green is the extension. Looks like we only have an extension on the lead in. Notice the arrow pointing the directions going this way. I don't have an extension on the lead out. So we need to go and check that. Double click. Go back to this one, I believe. Pass extension. From other side, use chip thinning, directions. Let's just go one way. See if that makes a difference. Say OK. So, maybe it is on my lead in, lead out. Vertical lead in radius, lead in entry. Lead in, lead out, same. See if that makes a difference. So sometimes you're just going to have to... Okay, let me tilt this. It looks like it did do an extension here of that 100 before it starts to come out. So will accept that and see. So now what we're going to do is we want to simulate this. I want to see, does it crash? What does it do? So I'm going to come up here to simulate. It shows me the cutter. I can press play. Well, that's the beginning. So now I have some options here. Tool path, show the point, show the axes. If I pick stock, it makes it a solid. I have found that if I use tool, use operation, it will change colors. Okay, so let's say go. So it comes down, it goes this way. Let's look at it from the front. Reset it. Play. So it comes down on the part. That's no good. It goes off the part, but it comes down on the part. So we have to fix that. All right, so that is somewhere in our settings, and I've done this before, and sometimes it tolerances, pass direction, pass extension. Okay, we got the extension we want. Offset I don't want. Step over, direction. Let's go both ways. Oh, extend before retract. There it is. So this will enable to extend the cutting pass beyond the stock before retracting. So I think that's the one, extend before retract. So let's say okay. There we go. See, now there it is. So now let's simulate. Reset. Play. So now there we go. Let's go to the front view. Reset. Here we go. So there, it's off the part. It goes off the part. Okay. So now it should have cut stock off the top. So something has caused us, the bottom height is should be the bottom top. Let's look again. Maybe stop collision, show part comparison, operation. Nope, don't want transparent. Go. Oh, there. Now that I can see this, it actually did. So, okay, it was working and I didn't see it. So, my facing is done. Now when it comes to end milling, there's a couple of choices. 2D pocket to rough all of this out and leave stock, and then if I'm only leaving stock on the sides and the floor has been taken care of to depth, then I can just use contour to come around. Otherwise, if I'm leaving stock on the bottom because I want to finish the bottom and the sides at the same time, then I would use 2D pocket again. So when I use 2D pocket, our tool is going to be, see how it added that up here with the operation. So cam, 3/8 end mill, select, there's my tool, put all my stuff in. So I come over here, I want to pick my geometry. So I'm going to pick the bottom. There, it picked it. Stock contours, wrap, tool orientation. Shouldn't have to change anything there. So now we go to this. Clearance height's an inch. Oh, notice how these change. Stock, top, up, up. We got to first make it model top, 1 inch. Model top, retract 200. We're going to go 0.1. Model top, 0.1. Stock top. We don't want stock top. We want model top. And we want to go selected contours because we picked this down here, remember? Okay, so now I'm going to come over here. Here's where we get a lot of choices, okay? I want a climb mill because that'll give me a better finish. Maximum step over. That's how far between my paths. You really don't want it to be more than 50%. So if I got a 3/8 end mill, I shouldn't want it to be more than 180. I'm going to go to 1/8. Okay. Now, there are some machining things that have to come to play. Okay. If I'm going to do full depth in roughing this out, can I really take half the cutter on a 3/8 cutter all in one shot for that whole depth? Probably not. So we're going to come back and say we're only going to take 100 thousandths at a time on a side. Okay? So we have some choices. Use spiral morphed. Those are some different ways that it can handle things. We're going to go multiple depths. Okay? So we're going to do max roughing step down. That's how much do I want to go down as a maximum. I'm going to say 0.25, 1/4 inch. Finishing step down 0 because I want to use a different thing. Finishing steps down 8 thousandths. Wall taper 0 degrees. Use even step downs. Yeah, make it even. Okay. Stock to leave. Do I want to leave stock? Now, radial is stock on the side, I believe. Radial. Radial is the wall. So that's 20 on the wall, 20 on the bottom. Okay? So I'm liking that. Come over here, linking. So allow rapid retract, safe distance. The safe distance is what's safe for it to be rapiding around at. I'm going to say 0.1 because that's what I determined before. Maximum stay down. So when it's doing machining, 2-inch max stay down, so it's going to stay down more if we look at this one on the right here than a 1-inch. So nope, won't let me see it. So I'll just leave it at the 2. Lead in, lead out. So if we're going to use cutter compensation at any point in time, we need to be able to control it with offsets, and you have to have a long enough lead in. So we would like more lead in because you got to have room. So 100 thousandths lead in. Go back to 100 again. 90 degree is the angle that it takes on the lead in. Okay, or I can do 45. I like 45, but sometimes 90 is just as good. Vertical lead in. Now you saw on the face mill it kind of went down and arced in. We don't really need that. So we say 0. Lead out, exit, yes. Same as the lead in, yes. Now ramp. So I'm doing multiple steps. It's going to be coming down. How am I going to get down there? I want to do ramp. I got choice. I can do a helix. I can plunge. I can do a lot of things. I can zigzag. I already had a hole pre-drilled. Helix is really good. It spirals around. But a 2-degree ramp is too long. It takes forever. So I'm going to say 10 degrees. Maximum ramp. Step down is 1 inch. Some of this, like I said, we can just go by with what they say. My last one, I'm going to say, okay, now it should generate the toolpaths. So if we look at this, this red is the spiral helix. That's how it's getting in there, and then it's going to cut around, then it's going to go down the rest of the way. So if I leave just this one highlighted and I simulate, it's only going to show what this tool did. Now, if you ever get red while you're doing this, it's a crash. And it's usually because you didn't design your tool with enough length for the depth that you're cutting. So now, close that. If I want to see the whole thing, if I pick up here on Setup or up top, not that, just once. Pick once on Setup. Now if I simulate, it does all of the operations. So it faces, and it does this. Oh, this is my speed. That's why I was messed up before. I forgot. So here we go. You can see that it did 2 steps. Notice it changed colors. It did green on the top. Now it's doing blue. Looks good to me. So I need to finish this. I want to do it the same way, except I'm going to not do step downs, and I'm going to take the stock off. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. There it is. Now I can go in here. If I pick slow, I can say 2D pocket rough. Pick, get rid of the 2, and I'm going to say finish. Okay, so finish, go in here. It should keep everything, the same tool, everything. It should have my geometry picked. It should have my work planes done. Where I'm going to need to change is keep my step over the same, uncheck multiple depths because I'm not doing that, and uncheck stock to leave. I don't want to do that. Now I should take it to finish size. So all of this stuff should really be able to be the same. So, okay. There we go. There's my helix. Why do I have 2? Oh, okay. Let's see why. So I'm going to pick Setup, Simulate, and let's watch the whole thing. So it faced, it's roughing. Notice compared to the line here, it's leaving an edge. That's our stock. Now this is all visual, but it's pretty decent. Gives you a pretty good visual. All right. Tool change. Now we're coming into finish. So there it's a different color. So now it's doing the floor, working its way around. Now it's cutting the outside wall. There you go. So that does pocketing, face milling. Now, if I were going to contour this outside, okay, I'm going to finish this outside. So we're going to do a 2D contour. Oh, it thinks this is 2.5 inch face mill. We want to come back and we want to get 3/8 flat end mill. There we go. Has all the right stuff. Come over here, contour. I'm going to pick the bottom. That arrow shows the direction it's going to go. Okay. Stock, don't need to change. Come over here to my heights. I should have model top, 101 inch. And model top 100,000s, model top 100,000s, model top selected contours. Okay, we're good there. Come over here, passes, climb milling. Now here's the big one. I want to climb, but here's the big one. This is compensation type. In the computer, when it posts it to make the code, it will adjust for the radius of the cutter to put it so that it's on the outside, cutting with the side of the tool. I have no control of changing the size. If I use a 370 cutter instead of a 375 cutter, okay, it's not going to change the size. So, in computer is where it's not calculated to offset it, so it puts the numbers that are directly off my print, and it puts in a G41 or G42 depending on what I'm going to do. So I want in control. Compensation radius allowance 118.5. That should be fine. The tool diameters that can be used safely. So down to that. Multiple finishing I don't want. So here's a finish feed rate, because sometimes you go faster and other times you go slower. So that's 16 finish feed rate. What was my feed rate for? 16. Okay, so it picked up the default. Finishing overlap, lead in, no. Roughing, multiple depths, stock to leave, smoothing, feed operation. So I don't see anything else I need to do. Lead ins, lead outs. So I'm going to try a 45 so you can see that. And horizontal lead in, I'm going to say 0.1. And linear lead in, I like to make it a radius, or actually I like to make it the tool diameter, so let's say 375. And I do not want a vertical lead in radius, so I'm going to make that 0. Lead out, lead in the same, so I'm going to say okay. So there's what we got. Let's go around that side and look. So here, and then the radius goes around, comes out. That's to turn on cutter compensation and to turn off cutter compensation. So let's simulate this real quick. And it cuts around like so. Okay, so close that. Let's look at all of them. Pick here, simulate, go. Face, rough, finish, cut the outside. Notice it changes colors for everything. That helps let you know what got cut. All right, so we're going to stop right there in this video. That goes over facing, 2D pocket, how to do a pocket both rough and finish, and then how to use a 2D contour. Okay. All right, so we'll see you next time. We're going to talk about taking care of holes, drilling holes.